Hello, D&D friends, and welcome to HolyRollerz Descent into Avernus, episode 19. We are the D&D show about the Divine Fellowship, an alliance of priests dedicated to protecting the world from invading powers of the planes, such as Zariel, the Archduchess of Avernus, and Navariel, the fallen Archangel of Pride. HolyRollerz is, in fact, a 9-person stream with 2 parties switching off every week. The Chainbreakers and the Sword Hunters, although our Chainbreaker stream is on hiatus for the moment. We will, however, introduce our Sword Hunter stream for tonight, starting with JT.
Hey everybody, I am JT. I play Anduriel. Anduriel happens to be a warlock cleric, warlock to a Fey Lord named the Piper, and then cleric of Naylock, the god of darkness, shadow, and death, and such.
I'm Tommy. I play Odelia, and I am a cleric of Moiras, the water goddess, and also a wee bit barbarian.
We appear to have lost Ryan.
Oh, wait.
Oh.
Ryan has become a chair.
What is
Ryan.
that Kirk Cameron movie where everybody disappears? Like,
Anduriel is the ghost. Ryan, not. Thanks, bro.
Wow, I think he's making fun of you.
He's stealing
JT.
my thunder.
He's stealing you.
There he is. There's the man himself.
Sorry, my internet cut out.
Really, that was scary because we thought like it was a Liam Neeson Taken scenario, and that was the first worry. And then the second one was like that you got whisked away in the rapture, and the rest of us got left behind. It was like really nerve-wracking. Like you should have seen John. He was beside himself.
He was beside himself.
Yeah, it was very good. But we're glad you're back, so you can introduce yourself now.
Well, I'm Ryan, and I play Lachlan Dulay. He is the Bard Paladin of Sindel, goddess of love, beauty, and truth.
And mutilation, which I mean, let's hope she covers that. But
the deductible's crazy.
I'm John. I play Thora Mikitas, the druid in the party, druid in service of Finhifara, the goddess of elemental earth.
And I am Sage of Sorcery, also known as Matt, your humble ginger dungeon master for the evening. We are in quite the situation. Let's jump into a little recap of last time. Last time on our Sword Hunter stream, everything was horrible. Literally everything was horrible. So, captured by their longtime enemy, Navariel, the fallen Archangel of Pride, the Hallowed Council found itself delivered into the hands of the Archdevil Bel, the weaponer of Avernus. Per Navariel's instruction and Zariel's longtime directive, Bel proceeded to torment the priests individually and turn them into weapons. Odelia was sent into a cage match fighting a spined devil, where an enchanted cage drained off her barbarian rage to fuel a magical lance. Lachlan had a... And she did kick his butt. Let the record show that he didn't. I don't even think he got a hit on, or if he did, it was he regretted it. Lachlan, however, had a hideous demon mask burned onto his face and head, and was trapped on a golden disc, forced to stand upright or be burned alive. And he was very successful at standing upright. All of those squats and crunches and glute lifts. Really, all those butt shaping exercises really helped him, and he was able to stay upright for quite some time. Didn't really have a problem there. And then Anduriel was psychically tortured by a gargoyle idol that slowly ripped his warlock powers from his mind. Thora was taken below Bel's Forge to some as yet unknown fate, although we're going to find out tonight. And then, to make matters even better, Anduriel... at the end of the episode, his mother, the Angel of Death by Sacrifice, arrived and offered to free the Hallowed Council from Bel's Forge if the Shadow Priest would surrender himself to be ritually sacrificed. Seeing no other option, Anduriel offered himself up to be slain by his angelic mother atop an altar back in the Adari Republic. And so Anduriel's cage in Bel's Forge is vacant as he fell through his own shadow pulled by his mother. So he has escaped, for lack of a better word. And that's pretty much the situation where we find ourselves. Did I miss anything? Any pertinent? Is anybody feeling that that I don't know, they weren't it wasn't described in enough detail, like the burn?
I mean, I watched the previous episode and I can say I'm scarred.
Okay, good. Well,
So
then,
watch the
Out of life.
previous episode if you want to be scarred.
and in Lachlan's case, quite literally. So too soon. So in any case, and why don't we go ahead and pick things up from Lachlan, and visit him. So Lachlan, after several days inside the golden disc, you awaken to fire along your back and Belle's infernal booming laughter echoing in your ears as exhaustion finally takes you, forcing you to slip against the shield of fire and force. Lachlan, you take 15 points of fire damage. And the fresh adrenaline coursing inside of you is only a temporary reprieve, because you can already feel that adrenaline waning, and you know that it's only a matter of time before your strength gives out again and you fall into the shield. And so you are exhausted, and Belle, as you cry out purely from instinct, and the 15 points of fire damage that you've taken, Belle says, "What a sweet note from my voice of agony, and what stamina you've shown. I must send my regards to the love goddess, who knew her priest's stamina extended beyond their rutting activities. Had I known, I would have enslaved more of them long ago. If for nothing else, my own amusement. Rest assured, my voice of agony, I will surely capture more of Sindel's priest, and all because of you." And his laughter just booms throughout the throne room. And he says, "Shall I tell you something else, little love priest?" And he gestures over with a clawed hand in the corner of that chamber to an ornately carved wooden chest with gold inlay and gold clasps. And he points towards the chest and just makes a motion like that with his clawed hand, and the chest floats over to him at the same time that his throne actually rises up off the ground and floats towards you, almost as though it were moving purely instinctually and responding to his whims, quite with quite a bit of responsiveness. It turns so easily, it's almost an extension of his body. So his throne turns and that chest turns, and he says, "Do you see the chest, my voice of agony?" And then he reaches down and makes a sigil with his claw in the air, and the chest opens, and he pulls out of it a adamantine rod that looks to be probably about a foot long maybe, and about yay thick or so, easily held in a grasp, and in his enormous claws they look like toothpicks. And he takes this rod and he flips it in the air, and it just kind of suspended in the air turns circles in front of your face, and he says, "You will breathe out your last just a few feet from the very thing you came to Avernus to find." And then he makes more gestures with his claw, and a whole set of these adamantine rods start moving in a circle, just kind of rotating in a circle and turning end over end. They're crafted of, obviously, one of the most expensive and rare items in the multiverse. I mean, the kind of thing Wolverine's claws would be made from, were Wolverine to exist in this universe. Hashtag not sponsored by Marvel Comics at all. But in any case, it's hypnotic to look at in and of itself. and he points to them and he says, "The Black Suns were built in this very forge. I crafted each, and these rods are the key to unlocking them, like a puzzle, you see. You will die with the secret to rescuing your precious city, and no one will ever know, because as you wither, I will trap your soul, and I will resurrect it before you can move on. You will spend eternities in hell, suffering at my hand. You will never see your goddess's face, but you will witness the day I retake Avernus, and you will sing of it." Just goes off on there. And then he makes a swift gesture like that, and the adamantine rods slam into the chest. The chest slams shut, and it moves into the corner of his throne room again. And does Lachlan have any response to this while he's monologuing, or does he just...
No, he's too tired and exhausted to even like. There's some defiance and maybe a bit of snark still, but he just doesn't have any energy to be able to voice it.
Okay. So Bell pretty much ignores you from that point on. As the day or the night, whatever time it might be, you're so tired and you've managed so little rest, you're really not sure how much time has passed, although you reasonably can assume that it's probably been a few days at the very least. So Bell entertains a few visitors, and as you slip in and out of consciousness, you become aware of some minor devils going in and out. You get a good look at the guards that seem to patrol the halls of Bell's Forge. Would you like to make a knowledge religion check to see if you can identify what they are?
That's an 18 plus 10. 28.
Okay. All right, so you get a really good look at the creatures that are coming in and out of the forge that are patrolling, a lot like guards. I want to find the picture for you here because it is quite glorious. That's what you're looking at right here. So what you're looking at right there with such a high check, what you can see is they actually have masks, not unlike the mask that you wear, but your mask, of course, is into the head of a devil, where these are rather nondescript. They're just kind of generic facial masks. But you recognize that these are probably Maragons. They are the souls of fallen soldiers, mercenaries, and bodyguards who served evil without reservation, often finding themselves everlasting service in the nine hells. They wear a metal mask that is actually bolted to their head that allows them to see. The mask cannot be removed as long as they are alive. And you do know also from your studies that beneath it, their faces are completely blank. The only face they have is the face of the mask that's bolted into them. So these are undoubtedly the spirits of wicked creatures who guarded evil, and they guard evil in the afterlife as well. And they're yucky, and they don't really seem to emote much too. When you hear them speak, they just give hollow reports that kind of echo metallically, but they really don't seem to gain any pleasure. They certainly don't exhibit the emotional spectrum that Bell seems to. I mean, Bell at least takes pleasure in cruelty. They don't seem to take any kind of pleasure whatsoever out of anything. And they come and go, and that's really all you see moving in and out of the throne room as you float in and out of consciousness. But at one point, you wake up as you near the heat again of the force shield, the shield of fire and force that surrounds you on that golden disc. And as you do so, Lachlan, the fire begins to flicker, whereas it is a fairly steady curtain of flames that surrounds you, but it begins to flicker and it begins to undulate. And it undulates to a point that catches your eye, and as tired as you are, seems to wake you up a little bit, just by the very nature of the way that it's moving. and you, as you look at it, you get the impression that the way that the flames are moving in front of you are triggering some kind of a biological response. Like they're waking you up, they're causing you to be more alert, and then they form themselves into the picture of a what would best be described as a harem girl, in wearing a bunch of lovely silks and veils with a top knot of hair, kind of like a genie. Quite the classic harem girl genie portrayal, and lying on her side like this, and you recognize the form of Saint Malkatia, the demigoddess of dangerous liaisons, appearing in the flame. And she says, "Ooh, hey there, kid. Looks like you've gotten yourself into an awful mess," which of course is the very best kind. "Now, whatever possessed you to take the hag's heartstone? Didn't you study magic at the temple?"
You said steal something and try to seduce her. I was just being obedient to your ridiculous commands.
Well, now you were obedient, sweet boy. That is true. You were definitely obedient. I mean, I don't know that I would have gone for the night hag's heartstone, the very thing that allows her to use her magical. Who am I kidding? Of course I would have gone for it. I would have stolen the exact same thing. Bravo, sweet boy. Bravo. And as a result, I can certainly offer you a boon, but listen, sweet boy, we have a slight, shall we call it, uh, just a little irritation. It's really nothing. I mean, it's just a small thing. I mean, it's that I can't enter the forge physically. You see, Baal is attuned to his lair like a dragon, almost like a god in their astral realm. If I enter into this physically and exert the full extent of my powers, he'll sense my presence and he will return immediately, possibly with Zariel in tow. But you did take an extraordinary risk, which means I can channel enough power to grant you a boon. Now, first things first, we have got to do something about your face. I mean, this just is not going to work. I mean, what would St. Delia say? She'll be on my back for eternity, literally. Let's make a few adjustments. And so she lifts her hands like this, and she waves her hands, and a little bit of fire flickers off of the curtain of force and flame that is trapping you. And you kind of recoil from it by instinct. And she says, now don't move, darling. This is delicate work here, especially since I can't do this in person." And then she waves her hands, and another little undulation of flame rolls off. And you feel the shape of the demon or the devil mask encasing your head begin to change a little bit, and it begins to transform. And it's, you would think, given that it's burned into your flesh, you would think that it would cause pain at feeling the metal kind of warp and remold itself, but it seems to be soothing. In fact, it's even a little titillating, as she does this, like, good nerve. You know, like when you sneeze and like a nerve goes through and you're like, "Ooh," you know, it's like, it's so satisfying to sneeze. And it goes through you and it reshapes. And then she says, "There we go, darling. And imbue it with a little bit of magic. I mean, he wants you to be the voice of agony. Let's show him just how painful that can be for everyone else." And then she goes, and she blows gold dust over the mask. And then it changes shape to look something a little bit more like that. The difference being that's just a little bit of an outline. The mask takes on the very shape that you can see, oddly enough, reflected in the fire. It is shaped exactly to look like your face used to look. And it's made, or it seems to be, have changed from whatever horrible iron substance into gold. And it has, I mean, she got the wavy hair, like it's perfect. She even got the eyeliner you use so that it circles. I mean, it's actually a gorgeous work of art. And it also becomes a neck item of +4 value. So I will tell you what it does, but you'll have to determine what it does. So whatever your neck item was, it is now a neck item +4. And you may name this item whatever you would like and let us know in the next episode, perhaps, what you call it. And she tells you, now see, she's like, what I've done here, it's really quite a delicate little work. I've made it so the next time somebody hurts you, well, you can take that pain and turn it right back on them. Just stare at them really hard the next time somebody hits you. Now, sweet boy, you don't have to do it immediately. You could wait until you're even further injured, and well, then it'll be even worse when you turn your gaze upon them. And if you wait until your injuries are quite dire, well, I wouldn't want to be responding to your pain in that circumstance. He wants you to be the voice of agony. Let's go ahead and fulfill that wish, shall we? There we go. Now Delia will be satisfied. And she says, now, that's what we might call amongst the gods a freebie. Now, as to your boon, there's a lot I can do for you, kid. I mean, I could conceivably get you out of this little thing, but you might be interested in taking another chance, which, as you well know, I just find delicious. Because you see, little boy, sweet boy, there's help on the way. I mean, at least I think there's help on the way. I can't really be sure about these things, but I think that someone else might be coming to lend you aid. So I could free you and let you wander around and maybe find your way somewhere. I could do that. I could also get you your equipment and, well, conceal the fact that you have it. I could even open up Belle's little chest for you. I mean, there are so many things I could do, but you're going to have to choose, sweet boy. What do you want? Do you want to wait and take that chance and hope that maybe somebody else will free you? Do you want your freedom to wander around, or would you like your things? Or I could even bring you someone to play with if that's your fancy.
Can you get me my things and what's in his box?
Well, I mean, I can open his box and I can get you your things. But see, sweet, he's got an alarm spell on the box. The moment you take something out of it, he's going to know. So if you take something out of it, you better be ready to run. Ooh, and you should probably have some way to get past the army surrounding the forge. Forgot to mention that.
Well, I can't very well leave. If help is coming, I can't very well leave all my companions here.
Why not?
Well, it just wouldn't be right.
Oh, you worry too much about right and wrong. They all took a chance. They knew what they were getting into.
I suppose, but no, I just still wouldn't feel good about it.
Well, all right.
So I'll take your chance that someone else is coming to help, and I want to be ready. So open the box and hide my stuff so that I can be ready when help arrives.
Okay. So she goes, "Oh, delicious!" And she rubs her fiery hands together, and the curtain of flame parts just a little bit, enough for you to hear a click coming from the corner and see the latchet, that the golden latchet that was covering Belle's chest, go flip upward. And then she looks back to you and she goes, and she blows some kind of gold dust over you again, and your equipment is restored to you. And then she reaches out another little curtain of flame, and it all turns invisible. You can't even see your equipment. And she says, "Oh, this is going to be so scrumptious. I can't wait to see what happens. I hope I'm able to watch without Belle noticing. There's no telling how long he's going to be away, but I suspect things are going to begin moving awfully quickly here in the near future." And she says, "Farewell, sweet boy." And she says, "And thank you for making things, oh, so interesting. Oh." And then she vanishes in a little undulation of flame, and the curtain of fire normalizes around you. And you are still trapped on that little golden disc. But that's where we will leave you, at least for now. And speaking of leaving people in wonderful places, Thora, our favorite little druid buddy old pal.
Boy, it's my turn. Great.
Thora, you wake up in the foundry at the bottom, not that you know it's the bottom, but you wake up in the foundry of Belle's Forge.
Okay.
There is a huge wall of lava that is making this room just unbearably hot. If you were maybe even just a few feet closer to those lava streams, you would be being continually taking fire damage from being so close to it. There are little fissures of lava that are making their way. There are there are three you can see in the room that run across the floor, and they're being used to heat up those iron cylinders or some kind of metal cylinders. And there's some kind of bubbling metallic liquid in there. You yourself, Thora, wake up strapped to one of those enormous anvils in the corner. Your holy symbol has been removed from you, and you immediately feel the disconnect with Finhafara. You can't reach out to the primal power source. You can't reach out to the divine power source to channel divinity. You become aware of tight metallic bindings that are weighing you down and some kind of a collar around your neck. Now, this forge, I would like to mention, is so large that you are easily able to be strapped across it just like that, with your arms and legs, straight out like that, and still not be hanging over the side of the forge or the anvil, because it's so large. And the size of the anvil becomes apparent to you when you see an enormous fire giant come tromping up the stairs that you see in the corner of that map. And his steps shake the obsidian volcanic rock that you see in this cavern around you. Just and you feel the vibrations, not an unfamiliar thing to you being a druid moving through the earth. You feel them kind of resonate across the anvil that you are strapped to in this foundry. And the fire giant comes towards you and he says, "Oh, we haves us a druid master what likes to make hisself into bugs." And then out of the shadows from the other side of the chamber, you see the horrible visage of the archdevil Bell coming towards you. And he is so attractive. I mean, look at him right there. He is just the classic image of the devil.
he is quite the hot pit fiend. Ha 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 ha.
Yeah, he is. He's quite the pit fiend, and he comes over to you and he says, "We so rarely capture a soul with fruit and flower magic. You'll need to last longer than this fleshy prison can hold your soul. Do you know how we stretch the years in hell, Druid?"
No.
Okay. Bale looks up to the fire giant and he says, "Strip the physical form. Replace him with mechanical parts. We'll build him into a nice golem, we will." And the fire giant looks at you and he says, "The good stuff, or do we make him crude and quick?" And Bale looks at him and he says, "Oh, we have all the time in the world. Use the refined material, but do it slowly. Replace one part at a time. We don't want to have him dying on us and have his soul escape before we can make use of him. No, we want to take him right out of the cycle of life forevermore." And Bale goes tromping away, his enormous red tail flickering. And the fire giant comes over to the wall opposite that curtain of lava and begins pulling all sorts of interesting objects off the wall. He pulls what looks to be some kind of prosthetic arm, and he pulls a bag, just a bag with a little tie on it, and comes over and grabs a few ingredients. He grabs a jar of like pickled cheetah eyes and just weird crap, and he comes over to you and he says, "Well, now, which is your favorite? Do you like the left arm or the right one?"
Oh, well, my favorite is my left leg.
Oh, he goes, "Time enough for that there is. Don't you worry. Dringalmer will replace every little bit of you, slow but sure."
But it sounded like you were asking what my favorite was. I have to say, my favorite is my left leg.
Well then, if that's your favorite, we'll start with the right one. And he walks over and he pulls a prosthetic leg. Now, here's the thing. Ordinarily, you might be very impressed with the craftsmanship that seems to have gone into the limb that he brings over to you. It is beautiful. You look at this thing and you are highly impressed as you see it seems to be crafted of adamantine, and which is a metal that you would easily recognize from your druidic studies. But the deal is, there looks to be hellfire coursing through this adamantine leg that looks like veins. And it doesn't look as though it's incongruous with the material. It's not burning it up or anything like that. It just seems to be pulsing a little bit, almost like a heartbeat.
Mm-hmm.
And he comes over and he lays it across your leg. And he takes your robe and he rips your robe, laying bare your fleshy leg. And he takes his hammer and he goes, "Oh no, this is going to hurt something awful." And he takes the hammer and he swings it down on top of this adamantine leg and smashes it into your leg. Thora, the amount of pain that you are going through right now instinctively makes you want to disapparate into a bunch of bugs, because you have that power and you've done it before.
Yeah.
But you reach for the power
And it's not there.
y no viene. Not come. You feel such an explosion of pain that you are not sure what is going on. At first, it's just pain, and he just keeps hammering and hammering. And then you feel like your leg beneath you is being squished. And at one point, you feel like it's gone, like your leg has been removed from your body. And he takes that bag and opens it up and pulls out residium, which is the refined substance of magic. And he begins sprinkling it over the top part of your leg and goes into a dire chant. Moments later, you feel your leg again, and a fresh bout of agony. It feels like your leg is on fire underneath. I would like you to make an endurance check to see how well you'll cope with this.
Okay. I have a plus 13, so 27.
Okay, so that's quite a high check. So Thora, you darn it, unfortunately you seem trained. And so you stay awake through the entire terrible process. And you are almost in your mind driven mad by what's happening to you. And the fire giant takes whatever is holding your head down and he pulls it off. He uncoils it from around your neck and pulls your head forward so you can look down and see what he's done to you. And you look down at your body, and this leg that you can now feel, that feels like it's on fire, is attached to your body, but it kind of hovers in the air. And you realize at that point that he has hammered your leg into nothing. It's just a mess of pulp beneath it.
Oh.
And you realize that this adamantine golem leg is not attached to your body. It's attached to your spirit.
Oh.
And you realize that your spirit is flowing through this leg, and it's your spirit that commands it. And you could move it if it wasn't strapped down, but it's really weird because you would have to order it to move like actively in your mind, like walk, 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 kind of thing, or move to the left, move that, and it responds to your intentional ideas if it could move. And he says, "What you think? I does beautiful work, don't I?"
Through clenched teeth and with a lot of pain in his voice, he says, "It's quite lovely."
Okay. It says, "Is
Just
it lovely?"
Trying to butter him up.
It says, "Oh, it's so nice to see someone what appreciates my work. Well then, if you liked it so much, what say we continue? You look like you're bearing it just fine."
He will again, through clenched teeth and in pain, say, "Sounds great." And as he turns around, he's going to examine his binds.
Okay.
As he turns around to grab more pieces.
They are thick coils of iron that are wrapped around your arms and your wrists. And as you look at them, you look down and follow them down as much as you can, tilting your head where it's free now, to see that they seem to be flowing into the anvil itself.
Okay. As if as if the anvil were like forged with binds built into it. Okay.
Yeah, well, that's what it looks like. I mean, who knows? It could be enchantment. It could be. There's no
something
telling.
that I can't do anything about because I don't have access to my magic.
Not yet. Not yet. Okay, now, Thora, you made your endurance check, and so he decides to keep going on you.
Oh, great.
So he takes
I would have rolled lower if I knew I was going to get punished for
there's a price to staying away. Look what a tough guy you are. So he grabs...
I shouldn't have trained really hard in endurance.
Aren't you glad that you're so skilled? So he comes over with the left arm matching that left leg. and lays it and rips your robe again so that you are just pretty much naked on that altar, but small clothes. And he lays it over your arm, and the same procedure. Bam, bam, and he pulverizes your arm, and he chants again, and he connects this metallic arm to your spirit. Thora, please make another endurance check to see how you weather this one.
Oh no.
Is that a 20?
It's a natural 19.
Oh,
Okay.
man.
For I will say, for a 32.
Okay. Well, a 32 is definitely more than enough. So, Thora, you go through this process again of him hammering through your arm and attaching this metallic adamantine with hellfire veins arm through you. And it moves through you, and you are able to retain consciousness again. And he looks over at you, and he says, "Oh my, aren't you the resourceful one? Look at the reserves of strength. I might finish you all in one day. Would you like that, little flower boy?"
Thora vomits. He's like, the pain is just at that level where he can't even like talk through it anymore. He just like he manages to turn his head so it's not entirely on him, and he's just like, "Bleh."
Okay. All right, you vomit, and he goes, "Ah!" He's like, "Looks like we weren't quite so resilient." And he looks at you, and Thor, I would like you to make an insight check to see how well you read him.
This is another thing I'm good at.
Ooh, you are quite good at that.
I rolled a natural 4 for a
But
20.
Okay. But for a 20, also, this fire giant, while skilled and quite the artisan, does not seem to be the most subtle beast of the field. You pick up the idea that he is really trying to read you. He wants to see just what you're capable of, and you get the idea if you say the right thing, you might be able to get him to stop before he replaces all of your natural body.
Okay.
So, is there anything that you would like to say to him to stop him, to occupy him until Gandalf comes and the sun turns him to stone or something? I don't know.
Okay, I have an idea.
Okay.
I have no idea if it's going to work, but I have
All right.
an idea.
Well, he goes back over to the wall and reaches up onto one of those cubbies that's carved into this lava rock wall, and he's grabbing another limb.
And like through coughs and like panting from pain, he says, I suppose if you have time, would you care to tell me just how you went about creating these? Just like praying to Finhafara herself that he can distract him by getting him on a tangent of how he built them.
All right, make a diplomacy check, please.
Oh, that's the other thing I'm good at. Thank God. 24.
Okay. Well, he looks at you and he says, "Well, now, it's nice to see someone what appreciates fine craftsmanship." And he says, "In point of fact, it's an elvish design. Don't know if you've ever seen one of them pointy-eared walking around with silvery arms, but they likes to make them out of mithril, they does. But see, down here in the hills, we do things a little bit different. Say, Master Bell wanted the hellfire flowing through like veins, so's you could do the fire magics and all that. It's beautiful when you see the arm strike someone and explode with hellfire all over them. Watch it burn the little flesh all to cinders. I makes it just like the elves do, only I fills the veins with hellfire. And I don't mind saying it's a bit of work trying to get those veins in before you're all the adamantine solid. But look at it. I done it not once. I done it about 50 times. It's a beautiful process. You'll be quite the little golem when I'm done.
Well, and I have seen the craftsmanship that the elves have put forward, and it's quite clear that not only are you working with a more difficult material, but you're working with a very different branch of magic that is much more difficult to
Thora,
harness.
make another diplomacy check.
Just gonna butter this guy up.
Keep him going.
Natural 20.
Okay. All right. So Thora, on your natural 20, which in a skill challenge, which on a skill challenge is equal to 2 successes, not 1, you manage to keep him going for hours.
Yes.
So he looks at that and he goes, "Oh, now it was so difficult. Them elves, all they like to do is do the starlight all over everything. Oh, twinkle, twinkle, look at my twinkly limbs. But they're not as strong. And if you get socked upside the head with mithril, is it going to hurt more than getting burned while you're stuck up with adamantine? And
Of
which
course
one's
not.
going to..." So he goes, I mean, blah, blah, blah. He pulls off all these different limbs and he starts offering you some choices. Like he says he doesn't have an elven head, but this one looks like a goblin and it has pointy ears, almost like yours. Do you want this one? And just keeps going and going.
Yeah.
And you keep him going. Anything else you try to get him talking about to keep him going?
I think eventually he asked him like, well, how do you get the hellfire to run through the adamantite? Because once it cools, it's impossible to work with. And like just to keep feeding it, just like what kind of magic, like what spell do you imbue into this so that it just continually burns, it never stops? And he's like sitting there like, oh my god, please work.
Okay. So he goes off and at one point he says, "Oh, you're right pleasant you are. Maybe there's a way we can keep a bit of your personality when you lose the will to choose." And he eventually just leaves you strapped onto this bad boy, only replacing 2. Now, Thora, there's something I would like you to do on your character sheet.
Okay. Uh-oh.
Next to your strength, which is what?
10.
I would like you to put /22.
Oh, whoa, holy.
Oh, dang.
Okay.
Both one of your legs and one of your arms, although they are afflicting you currently with burning pain, are now a strength of 22. And they have other properties as well that you will have to experiment with, just like Mr. Lachlan, to find out what they do. I mean, that is assuming that you get out of here.
Okay.
So, Thora, that is, my friend, almost where we'll leave you. So he leaves you alone, and the pain at one point, despite your being trained in endurance, which perhaps is necessary if you're going to disapparate into a cloud of bugs on a regular basis, you start drifting off, and in your mind's eye, you see something running towards you. And it comes closer and closer in your mind's eye. And as it comes closer to you, it seems in your mind's eye as though it were about stopping at about 20 feet away from you. And it seems to be lost somewhere amidst the volcanic rock of Avernus on some kind of mental landscape. And you see the shape of a silvery gray wolf. And a voice comes into your head. And it says, "Is not the iron and the steel and the adamantine of the earth?"
And he, like, groggy and pain riddled, he says, "It is."
Okay. The fire is the byproduct of suffering. Hellfire is created by the torment of the innocent and the guilty. Is not suffering a part of nature?
It is.
Do not give your will in to the control of these alterations. For if your will is strong enough, you will control them. And this she-wolf's voice echoes so powerfully in your head that for a moment you're afraid, and a storm cloud gathers overhead and lightning crackles in your mind's eye, and a bolt of lightning comes down and strikes where the wolf is, and there's a bright flash of light on this mental landscape, and then the wolf is gone and you are wide awake. The fiery pain seems to have dissipated somewhat.
Okay.
And will return to you.
Okay. Okay.
Miss Odelia.
Yes, I'm ready.
You just explode in the cage. Just poof, like just boom. It's over. Okay.
Bye.
So Miss Odelia, you have been through what you are reasonably sure is several days of fighting and draining into this hellfire lance in front of you. At any point during these battles, do you refuse to rage and fuel the weapon, or do you just give into it?
So in between each time, Odelia is going to employ all of the anger management techniques that she has been working so hard to develop over her adult life. She's meditating, she's taking deep breaths, but as soon as she when an opponent is first set in front of her, she has great intentions of not raging, but as soon as any of them, they torment her with descriptions of what they are doing to the members of her party. It just drives her berserk, and she can't control it when she hears about the danger that her friends are in.
So Bell continues to taunt you and to oversee the fueling of this hellfire lance personally. And he shows up what seems to be every day, every other day. You think maybe 3 or 4 days have gone by. He shows up every 12 hours. I mean, you're not quite sure when the party is going to start again. He throws that spinagon at you, and then when you take that thing down, he realizes that he's going to need a bit more, and he throws in a chain devil at you, and he has you fight a chain devil. And if at any point he loses his patience, he points one of his clawed fingers at you and casts a dominate person spell on you and forces you to rage if you try to resist. So it's just this torturous process. And after 4 to 5 days of this, that lance in front of you is thrumming with magical energy. You can feel it, Odelia. You're trained in Arcana, aren't you, Odelia? Isn't that one of your skills?
Yes.
So, Odelia, please make a knowledge Arcana check to see what you can determine about the lance.
Where's Arcana? Oh, there it is. All right. Let's see here. There we go. 17.
Okay. So with a 17, Odelia, you can tell that this thing is it's pretty what you would call full. And it's full in a way at this point that is probably going to be permanent with the enchantment that seems to be woven into it. And you feel like if you were to get your hands on this lance, that it would be quite the potent magical item. And you feel like it would be difficult to control, but also extremely dangerous. Like you feel like with what's contained in this weapon, being that it's a diabolical or fiendish weapon, you feel like it would, just touching it might send you into a rage that you wouldn't be able to control, but heaven help anybody that got in your way while you were fighting with it. So you recognize just from your own study of magic that it's a dangerous, hellish weapon, but also very potent. And at any point, you manage to figure that out about this weapon, and you think that there's probably not much more that they could do at this point to fire it up. And at one point, the fire giant comes through, and he comes through with your food and with your water. And the deal is, Odelia, in order to fuel your rage, they feed you quite well. They give you steak and potatoes and a lot of fresh water, and the fire giant encourages you to eat up. And
You could be that angry.
it doesn't satisfy though. I mean, it's all decent, but you know, when you cut a piece of steak and you bite into it and you expect that it's going to be full of flavor and it's just kind of bland. I mean, you're like, and you look around thinking, oh, I need some seasoning. Oh, it's hell. They've thought of everything. And you're like, there's no A1. I mean, there's nothing. I mean, it's not good. Or if you're a vegan and you know, when you bite into a really good piece of fresh broccoli, and I mean, I'm just fantasizing in I have no idea what, but vegans have awesome donuts. I don't know if you're aware of. Anyway, anyway, Odelia, this goes on for a bit, and then something very strange happens to you about the 5th day that you've been through this process, when the fire giant brings in your food. He brings down a bowl of water, and he tells you, oh, oi there, drink it and then give yourself a nice wash. Nobody likes a dirty little halfling, do they? And he slides through the aperture. He turns the bowl sideways and slops a lot of the water because they don't care, you know, and puts it down there and lays this bowl of water next to the cup and to the plate of food in front of you. And Odelia, you notice something odd. The water in the bowl that they've given you to wash with is unnaturally calm. With the amount of thudding and trembling that this chamber does when he walks, you would think that this water would be quaking like the Jello from Jurassic Park. But it stands still. And then, Odelia, you notice that this water begins to swirl in the bowl. And it begins to move in a circle. And what do you do?
I immediately dropped to my knees, recognizing that this must be a sign from the goddess, and drop to my knees and say, I'm here. Please tell me what I should do.
Okay, Odelia, sorry, 3 hours of sleep. Odelia, please make a religion check.
Well, that's not great for me. Ooh.
No. She went to church, but she didn't pay attention.
No, but I wasn't very good at paying attention. Let's see, where's religion on this?
If you don't have religion as one of your trained skills, it's half your level plus your wisdom modifier.
So that would be like 5 or 6. So like 18 or 19.
So half your level is 5. And what's your wisdom modifier? What's your wisdom?
1.
Okay, so you have a total of +6 to this roll.
Okay, so 19.
Total?
Uh-huh.
Okay. So the 19, Odelia, this is what you know. Sometimes, very rarely, Moiris will offer to show her priestesses some kind of divination through the water. But in order to trigger it, Moiris expects an offering. She wants an impromptu rhyming couplet that will invite the divination to take place. And you know, because Moiris's folk are priests of the sea, that all creatures of the sea that are musical, like sirens, fall under her domain and dominion. So Moiris expects at least a rhyming couplet from you. What does Odelia say?
Moiris, I am stuck in hell. Please help me beat that big jerk bell.
Okay. So you say that, and there's more images that begin to come up into the water. You see something taking shape, but you need something else. It seems that Moiris wants another verse.
I've been stuck here in this cage. They're siphoning off all my rage.
Okay. Things begin to take that's where the applause. I think we can all stop and applaud right here. Okay. Things begin to take shape, Odelia, and you see what you are reasonably sure is Anduriel. But it's not an Anduriel that you recognize, and it's not an Anduriel whose expression or garb seems to fit the one that you know / knew. So here's what happens. Odelia, everything that happens from here on out, you are going to witness through the scrying bowl that Moiris has granted you. Which means that everything I'm about to describe that happens to Anduriel, to JT, you are going to get to watch. And you may even have the opportunity to interact while all of this is going on. Because should you offer, say, another rhyming couplet, Moiris might let you speak through the water and influence events as you see them happening. And now we'll switch on over to Anduriel. So let me go back here and find this man. All right. So Anduriel, or should I say Michael, you have waited very patiently for an hour. Why, thank you, JT. So Michael, you awaken in the loft where you sleep on a soft bed of lamb's wool. And you awaken in the loft of a chapel of Bestera, goddess of healing and protection, who is the goddess that is worshipped in the Yadari Republic. And you awaken in the chapel loft in the state of Lair, which is the place where you grew up. And you feel completely at home where you are. The light of dawn streams in through the window, waking you up. And truth be told, the dawn actually streamed in through the window probably about an hour ago. But you were so comfortable under that lamb's wool and so completely restful that you just kind of enjoyed the feeling of the sun across your face and how it was warming your body before it awakened you. It wasn't an unpleasant awakening at all. It was just kind of a gentle, nice awakening. What actually disturbs your sleep is the voice of Hope Master Garen, who has raised you from the time that you were a baby, yelling, "Michael! Michael, get up! Get up, you lazy boy! It's time to light the candles! Michael! Wake up! They'll be coming in for morning prayers any minute! Michael!"
Am I him, or am I Anduriel who just got sacrificed by his mom in his consciousness? Like, what's my relationship to this situation?
Are you asking me what your consciousness is right now and what
Yeah.
you remember? Okay, so Anduriel, or Michael, rather, Michael is perfectly comfortable and at home in this scenario right here. At the vaguest part of your subconscious, you feel like there's a bad dream of something that maybe you once imagined that you were, that you aren't anymore, or that you gratefully have awakened to realize was just a dream and really isn't part of your reality. You're back home where you belong.
Okay.
You're in Hope Master Garen's chapel, and he's calling you to light the candles before morning prayers.
Oh, fiddlesticks! I've slept in again.
Okay.
Coming, Father Garen, coming. He just
Hey.
sort of gets up and starts running down there.
All right, so you come down from the loft, and you slide down the ladder, which is your custom. He's told you probably 100 times, don't slide down the ladder. You're gonna fall and break your neck, but you keep doing it because he's down and around the corner, and he can't see you. He was shouting down the hall, so he comes running. You come hustling down there, and you pass the kitchen on your way. And Hope Master Garen's one of the lay worshippers of the church, Sophia, is this very matronly little halfling woman. And she looks at you and she says, "Oh, Michael, you slept the whole day away, you little slug of bed." And then she chucks a hot bannock, which is kind of a bread, a bread that is made in the Highlands at you. And it's piping hot, and you have to finagle it so you don't burn your hands. Make a dexterity check, please, to see if you catch it or if you drop the bannock on the floor.
That is
half your level on your dexterity
19,
modifier.
19.
All right, so you easily catch this bannock in your hand, and you flip it back and forth, and it's hot. She goes, "Oh, shove it down your gullet quickly, you got to go light the candles, or he's gonna have a bird."
And he just sort of pops it in his mouth. Wouldn't be the first.
Okay.
Runs off.
All right. So Michael, you come walking down the hallway, eating your bannock, just kind of munching on it, and you see Hope Master Garen is busy laying out the sacred items on the altar before morning prayers. So he's laying out a ceremonial shield of Vestera, and he's laying out a pendant that's in the shape of the shield symbol, and laying out some other items. He lays down the Vesteran holy book, just lays it on the table, and if I looked it up, I could tell you what it is, and I can't remember because I'm old and I can't remember all the gods I've designed and everything about them. So he lays it on the table, and you see he's getting everything ready, and then he catches sight of you, and he goes, "Michael, you should have been up an hour ago."
I thought I was.
None of your lip, boy. None of your lip. Go and get the candles lit before worshippers come in for morning prayers.
Yes, Hope Master Garen.
He's like, "I swear. You'd think that you would know your responsibilities and tend to them better by now." And he says, "After all, what would Imelda say?" Eh? What do you think Imelda would think of that? Now, Imelda, Michael, Imelda is a beautiful young girl that has been flirting with you consistently every day at morning prayers. And she's caught your fancy, and you've caught her fancy. You may have even stolen a kiss in the corner of the chapel when nobody was looking.
Gee willikers.
And she's pretty much expecting at some point you're gonna pop the question. Although you're thinking that she might actually pop the question because she's just kind of she's just saucy enough to not give a crap about waiting or wanting some man to do it for her. So
fair enough.
And he says, "Now what would Imelda say?"
Oh, and he kind of he flusters a little bit. Is this Imelda's hard to say? I don't I'm gonna go light the candles.
Okay. He goes, "Hard to say. You don't seem to have a problem coming up with words when she's in your presence the way you boast, Michael. You'd think you invented candles and light itself."
Well, I may have had a hand in it. I don't know.
Blaspheme. And on the 10th day of worship. And she's now, you hurry up and get those candles lit. So do you go about lighting the candles and...
Yeah, but he'll say, they would have been lit a while ago if you hadn't stopped me to speak of such frivolous things, Father Karen. And then he just sort of boop, 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 off to light the candles.
Okay, he comes by and he cuffs you upside the head. just playfully cuffs you upside the head, and he says, cheeky boy. And you go lighting the candles, and it's not, it's not that you have to, light a ton of them, but they're small. And in order to light them all, it requires very precise motions. So you light the candles around the statue of Bestera, particularly around her sacred shield. And so once the candles are all lit, it will create this beautiful illumination around Bestera's shield on that statue. The candles are actually in candelabras that frame the entire shield, so that when they're all lit, the shield shimmers and it looks as though the shield itself is on fire, which is quite a beautiful effect. Odelia, you are watching all of this. You've never seen Anduriel quite so leave it to Beaver. He also
Very unsettling.
he also seems very playful, like the way he's talking. You've never seen Anduriel really playful with people before. You've seen him snidely mock them. You've seen him threaten people. You've seen him order people around, and you've seen him kill people, but you've never seen him playfully banter with anyone before quite like this. Anduriel, that is when you notice something that is just kind of weird. Make an insight check, please.
I have a question for you while he's doing
Yes.
that. It says on my sheet that I am also from Lair. Is this a place that I recognize?
Let's have you go ahead and make a history check. Are you trained in it?
No.
Okay, so half your level and your intelligence modifier, if you have one.
20.
Okay, so Odelia, you actually do recognize this chapel. This chapel is one that belongs to a village that you have passed through in the northern part of Lair. So Horta is the city that was stolen by Zariel, and then in the middle of the country is the state of Lair. Has a number of villages, and the village that you recognize is in the western part of Lair, like eastern, not western. It's closer to the coast. It's the easternmost village to the east of Lair in that middle state. And that's one of the reasons why you've probably passed through it, is because it's along the coast, and you've probably been up and down the coast with Moirus's folk. So you actually have passed through this chapel before, and you recognize it. It's a sweet little chapel. It's modest, but it's beautiful, well preserved, and the town is not large, but it's no Scipio, Utah. So, I mean, it's not Zizek's Road, or anything like that, but it's modest. You're probably several hundred people living here. But anyway, yeah, it's just kind of weird to see Anduriel. Now, Anduriel, what did you get on your insight check?
20.
So, Anduriel, what happens is you notice for some reason, as you light the candles and look around, your shadow seems to stretch all the way across the chapel and up onto the wall. And you think, oh, it's a trick of the light. I mean, it's not like you've never seen the light of the candles around Bestera's shield cause your shadow to lengthen, but your shadow seems to just be traveling, and it goes up the side of the wall, and your shadow on the wall assumes a stance that does not match the way your body is standing. It puts its hands on its hips and cocks its head like somehow it's calling you an idiot or something. I mean, who knows? It seems to be mocking you. And then you blink your eyes and your shadow is back on the floor, and you're not quite sure if you saw it or you didn't.
Should have stayed in bed.
Okay. And that is when Mrs. Johansson comes through the front door of the chapel, and she flings the chapel door and comes scooting, and she goes, "Whoo!" And then she closes it and she goes, "Oh, it's a bit chilly outside." And then she warms her hands together, and then she comes scooting forward, and she goes, "Out of the way, boy, out of the way." And she scoots you to the left of the statue and puts her hands over the candles. And rather than praying, she just seems to be warming up her hands on all the candles that you've lit. And she says, "Oh, Bestera bless you, dear, for lighting these every morning. Oh, it's a bit chilly this morning." And she looks at you and she says, "And between you and me, I'm not wearing all the layers that maybe I should be. But it was either make it all the way down here or not. And I'm sure you wouldn't want me to miss my prayers, would you, laddie?"
Oh, no, no, indeed not. It's most important that you're here.
And she looks at you and she says, "That's right. More important that we're present. Right, Hope Master?" And the Hope Master nods and he says, "Bestera bless you this morning, my child." And she says, "That's right, because I showed up. You get credit for just showing up, don't you?" And then she tosses a wink at you. And Uriel, make a perception check, please.
Whoa, that's not great. 2. That is 8.
Okay, Mrs. Johansson is missing something.
Oh wait,
Which-
sorry. I have a 12 bonus for perception. I did not add that in.
Oh, well then that wouldn't be an 8, would it?
What is that? 22, 20?
That's 20. Yeah,
20.
8. If isn't an 8 on the die, or
Well, yeah, no, yeah.
and this is what is the number? This is starting to sound like one of Ryan's attack rolls. I mean, is this fiction or what's on here? Like,
Well, I didn't add my destruction bonus and my implementation station.
I'd like to use add ups inside and
It's 21. 8 and 12, 21.
Okay, Mrs. Johansson's her amulet of Bestera is missing. She's very proud of it. And she's not wearing her amulet. Actually, in place of her amulet, she seems to be wearing an obsidian pendant of some kind. What's around her neck is this little pendant of obsidian, and it's in the shape of kind of a shadow demon almost, like a little silhouette with like horns and like wings that are like kind of like claws almost. And it's really quite bothersome, except that you feel like you've seen it. But I mean, it's totally out of place here, and it's, I must say, irreverent here. You're a little bit shocked. Ms. Johansson, she's kind of mouthy on the whole, but this is a bit inappropriate to be wearing to morning prayers on worship day. And but there's something about that symbol that just seems to just really look familiar to you. And you get that feeling that there's something weighing on the back of your mind that wants to get in, but you're not quite sure you want to let it in.
Okay. Well, he's gonna kind of whisper, "Sister Johansson, your amulet. Where's your amulet?"
And she looks down. She's like, "Well, it's around my neck, boy. Where else would it be? Where do you keep your amulet? On your foot?"
That's not the one you usually wear, Sister Johansson. What is that?
"Well, that's my holy symbol."
I've never seen it before.
"Yeah, you have."
I don't recall seeing it before.
"Well, let me ask you this. Do you like it? I mean, take a look at Bestera's statue. It's beautiful, isn't it?"
Yes.
"Well, so's the amulet, isn't it? I mean, it's not exactly friendly, but isn't the obsidian beautiful? I mean, look how it catches the light, almost like it's trapping the light."
In its way, I suppose. It's startling a little bit since I've not seen it on you before.
"Well, I don't know. I like that it startles people. Do you like startling people, Michael?"
Not so much, although I seem to do it more often than I'd like.
Well, I don't know. Maybe that's something you should think about. I mean, this is all nice and everything, but I don't know. There are other options.
Other options? You're saying that in this chapel? What's going on?
Oh, be about your business, boy. Go bother somebody else. I've got prayers to say too. And instead of kneeling in front of the statue of Bestera, she actually goes and kneels in the shadow that's in the corner behind the statue. She just kind of, I mean, she's obviously still visible. It's not like she's playing hide and go seek with Bestera's statue, but she kneels in the shadow cast by the statue, and she begins saying prayers that you do not recognize, or rather, they seem out of place, but they seem kind of familiar to you.
He's gonna go over to Father Garen or Master Garen and kind of like, I think something might be wrong with Sister Johansson. She's over muttering in the shadows.
Yeah, I think he says, I think quite a number of things might be wrong with Sister Johansson, but she's welcome here, boy. Everyone's welcome here. You come as you are. I mean, isn't it our responsibility to help see them continue on their way? I mean, she'll learn eventually, won't she? I mean, that is, she'll learn if we continue to teach her. We can't be fainting at every sight that we see that just seems a little bit out of the ordinary. Just ignore it.
Ignore it.
Ignore it. Let her be her. You just
All right.
focus on Bestera. You focus on where your thoughts should be on this worship day.
As you say, Hope Master. As you say.
Okay, the door opens again. And in through the chapel, Michael, comes your mother. And at first, it startles you as she walks into the chapel, because a little chill goes down your spine, and you get this feeling of dread that is replaced by a feeling of warmth as she comes sauntering up the little pathway between the pews towards the statue. And she walks up towards the statue, it looks up, and she touches her head and makes the sign of the shield as she comes to the statue, and she bows before Bestera's statues. And then she takes her place in the pew, and she looks at you and crooks her finger.
Like my mom, like not like, hey, she raised me.
It seems odd, but then you have memories fill your head of her baking you a birthday cake and of her singing you to sleep, and you remember that time when you had the fever and she was up all night with you, soothing your brow with cold washcloths. Yeah.
Sorry.
And Ben and Jerry's. Like
Just thought you had a fever. You need more cowbell.
that too.
Okay, well, she's beckoning him. There's good feelings there. He's going to go over. Yes, mother. What is it?
And she says, "What are you doing?"
What do you mean? What am I doing? I've lit the candles. It's day of prayer.
So what?
What?
I mean, my son, it's beautiful. I can see where it has a certain aesthetic to it. Is this what you want? Are you happy?
I was until all this madness started happening.
Oh, there's no madness, my son. There's nothing of the kind. She puts her arm around you and she draws you close to her, and you are filled with such feelings of warmth and home, and you realize that your mother loves you so much, and she thinks of you as such a good boy that you just really enjoy the feeling. You feel like her favorite son as she draws you a little bit nearer, and she says, "Oh, sweet child, And she says, you realize this isn't your only option, right? I mean, it's appealing and it's certainly attractive. You can spend your time here if you like, but is this really the place for you?
I don't know anymore. It's, as you say, it is nice, but it feels like incomplete somehow. Sort of unfinished.
Well, I mean, I suppose that's up to you, isn't it, my son?
I don't know what you're talking about. This is all I know.
But is it all you know? I mean, if you think really hard, aren't there other things that you know?
Do I roll to think really hard? I don't know.
Well, you can make an insight check to see if you know what she's talking about.
10, 16, 18.
All right, so there are thoughts at the edge of your subconscious, and you realize that they're within your grasp, but you also realize that you have a choice, that you don't have to and even entertain what she's talking about. You can if you want to, but it's your option. And your mother says, my son, repeat after me. Night be with me, Lord of Shadows. Let me walk with the blessing of darkness. Come, my son. She kneels in the pew, too, and she says, come, my son. Come pray with me in the shadows. Doesn't it feel better?
He's fascinated. He's an inquisitive person by nature, so he goes with her and he repeats the prayer.
Okay. She says, night be with me, Lord of Shadows.
And the night be with me, Lord of Shadows.
Let me walk with the blessing of darkness.
Let me walk with the blessing of darkness.
Blind the eyes of my foes and obscure their way.
Blind the eyes of my foes. And what?
Okay, Enduriel, you get quite a bit flashing back to you. As it comes out of your mouth, you've said this prayer hundreds of times before. This is the blessing of the night. It's a prayer to Nalok, the god of darkness. And your mother just smiles widely at you, this big beaming grin, like she just served you buttermilk pancakes and bacon.
What is happening?
Well, you're making a choice, my son. Doesn't it feel right?
I suppose I am. It feels familiar, if nothing else.
Okay, Anduriel, you feel a hand grab your arm. And you look up, and on the other side of you, you see Hope Master Garen. And he looks down at you, not with a stern expression, but he looks down at you with pity and with concern. And dare I say it, a little bit of parental disappointment.
No, man.
No. No.
And he says, my son, you don't have to do this. Your life can be anything you want. Don't you think, after everything, you are entitled to some peace?
Hope Master, this doesn't feel bad.
Okay, your mother continues praying, guide me to vengeance, justly deserved, and hear the words I utter in the shadows. And Hope Master Garen pulls on you a little bit.
Okay. He's gonna keep repeating the prayer, and not looking at Hope Master Garen.
Okay. Hope Master Garen knees you in the... No, I'm just kidding. He doesn't... No, sorry. Hope Master Garen begins to dissolve in front of your eyes.
No.
And not only does he begin to dissolve in front of your eyes, but everything around you begins to dissolve in front of your eyes, Anduriel. The whole of your surroundings melt into wisps of gray smoke, like a candle's flame that is burned out, leaving only the pleasant memory of warmth. You find yourself in a vast, misty gray waste that is peaceful, but nevertheless devoid of color and warmth. Before you stands a long line of people of all races: humans, gnomes, elves, dwarves, half giants, rabbit men, halfling lizard folks, a walking wind chime, a swirl of colors, talking mushrooms, elephant headed men, and sentient cheese. And it stretches into eternity, this line of all kinds of creatures. The other end of the line is moving down into a pit of darkness. And through the gates of a city at the bottom of the pit in the distance, whose buildings all seem to be made of darkness and give off wisps of shadow, as though their structure is difficult to discern in the wisps of shadow that these buildings in the city give off. Now, as you watch, the line slowly moves steadily towards that pit of shadows, but at regular intervals, people are taken from the line by different manifestations and creatures. Some people are taken away by winged horses. Others are enveloped in swirls of purple magical energy and they vanish. Others are led away and they walk off in the arms of a devil or a demon. Some people walk off or they leave, on with the hand, like grasping the hand of an angel of some different kind. But most of the people seem to move straight forward inexorably towards that pit with the city of shadows.
Okay. Does it feel wrong at any way? Like, does it seem amiss?
Make a religion check.
That is a 19 on the die plus 27.
Okay, so you are an apt student. Unlike Odelia, you paid attention in church, and you recognize that you are in the pit of darkness, which is Nalok's astral domain. All creatures who live or who are born onto Ienia, who are part of, shall we say, the gods' creations, when they die, have to pass through the pit of darkness, or at least they have to journey through the pit of darkness. Those who make it all the way through the line will stand before Nalok to be judged if they are not taken by other powers of the planes, shall we say. And as you look at that, it's you kind of take in a lot. And then you look to your left, Anduriel, and you see your mother, but not your mother, the village maiden. You see your mother, Nathkashara, the angel of sacrifice.
Okay.
And she looks at you and she smiles and she says, "Well chosen, sweet child. Gaze upon the city of shadows. Is it not magnificent? Is it not everything you were taught?"
It is. It is, Mother. It's everything I was taught.
And she says, "Well then, shall we continue on, sweet child?"
I suppose. I've nothing else to do, really.
And she says, "'Tis a triumphant return, child. Is it not?"
Triumphant? How so?
"Well, you offered yourself to me freely, and also in the service to which the god of darkness assigned you. Should you not enter into his kingdom, trailing wisps of shadowy glory, as it were?
I don't know anymore, Mother. I just hope what happened was for the best, for my friends.
Oh, worry not, sweet child, for soon you will stand before the Brother of Shadows, and all will be not only clear, but all will be sublime. And she takes you by the hand, and she leads you past the line. And it occurs to you that Nalox's priests don't have to wait in the line. You may enter, or at least Nalox's worthy priests may enter into the City of Shadows without waiting in the line. They may head straight to Nalox's court. And so she takes hold of your hand, and she flies and lifts up off the ground. And you expect that it's going to be some kind of like physical effort, but you kind of just glide through the air behind her as she beats her enormous feathery black wings and lifts herself into the gray sky. And she flies towards the gate that this huge line of people are moving toward. And a magnificent thing happens as you pass through the gate, flying with your mother holding you in tow. Once you cross the gates, this expansive city in the pit, the shadows seem to melt away before your eyes, and you see the most beautiful and detailed, colorful city that is so breathtaking to behold. It's kind of like that first time you see a vast starry sky and you can't stop looking at it. There are so many beautiful sights that are kind of swallowing up your gaze. And you realize that the shadows are what everybody else sees, but that your vision penetrates the City of Shadows to see the magnificence underneath it. You see iridescent, radiant buildings like the Bifrost Bridge from the Marvel movies, full of color. You see magnificent turrets on top of towers that should not be able to stand, but they do, defying just kind of all kinds of architectural laws. And it's like walking down Main Street at Disneyland the first time, and you can't take in everything because there's so much to see. And then a castle at the center of the city comes into view. And make a knowledge religion check to see what you remember about this.
18.
So you see the castle has 7 turrets, and the castle itself is made of pure night. It's the only thing in the city that is actually constructed of black, thick darkness. And there are 7 turrets, one for each kind of death: slaughter, mercy, tragedy, plague, famine, martyrdom, and of course, sacrifice. And she leads you to the gate, or the drawbridge leading into this castle. And she lands before the drawbridge and raises her hand and just kind of gestures for you to continue forward.
He kind of looks at her, but he feels comfortable, and he just keeps going.
Okay, so Anduriel, you see that line of people continuing through the drawbridge and up a series of stairs and down a long and beautiful corridor with red velvet carpet and beautiful statues of winged angels along the side, and all kinds of different paintings across the walls, huge murals and tapestries that you want to stop and study them, because they seem to be depicting scenes from ancient times, scenes from other worlds that you somehow know are stories that you should know or that you will know. And it's difficult not to stop and take it all in, but you feel compelled to follow this great hallway down through the castle. And as you do so, you are led before a dais, on top of which is a gigantic throne made of some kind of black crystal. And seated on that throne is a gigantic humanoid figure, easily 10 feet tall, wreathed in darkness. And you approach, conscious of this eternal line next to you, but not concerned by it. And as you try to stare into this humanoid figure wreathed in darkness, you feel like the longer you stare, the more your vision penetrates what is under the shadows. And you see an outline of a man in silvery gray armor, beautiful, ornate, and fancy armor. And then your vision blurs and you can't focus, and you see just the swirl of shadow again. So you concentrate again and try to stare at this figure who's wrapped in shadows that are swirling about him. And you stare, and this time you think you see a regal nobleman with proud bearing in a purple robe. And then your vision goes blurry again. And each time you try to look beneath the shadows, you see something different, and so on and so forth. Odelia, you are watching all of this take place, and you are watching Anduriel talk to his mother, who is a frighteningly beautiful spectacle herself. You see the line, you see the castle. Odelia, the city to you just seems to be wrapped in shadows. The whole place looks to be made of darkness, but Anduriel does seem at peace. And Anduriel, you feel compelled. What's that?
What's that? That he's dead.
It would be kind of hard not to gather that from everything that you've seen. And Odelia, you may not have paid much attention, but you do know that every soul that dies has to enter or pass through Nalok's realm, the pit of darkness. But Anduriel seems to be going into the heart of it. And Anduriel, you feel compelled to approach that gigantic figure on that black crystal throne. And you have the impression that this figure is listening to everyone who approaches in that line. And also at the same time, listening to you as well. And then he speaks. And as he speaks, wisps of shadow come off of his breath, as though the words themselves were made of the darkness. And his voice soothes you, and it falls over you like shade in the hot sun, and is so comfortable. And he says, "Welcome home, my son. You have returned with much honor. Tell me, are you pleased with your death?"
Nalok, is that you? Is this real?
Is it not what you learned at the feet of the Shadow Master himself? Is this not exactly, or at least near to what you imagined?
It is. Well, if you're Nalok, you know, my life's been sort of a trip lately, and it's hard to believe anything. But assuming you are Nalok and this conversation is real, I would say, to the extent that my death is able to help my friends achieve their purpose, yes.
And so you are pleased with your death, my son?
No. I feel it, there's more for me to accomplish. I feel like there's more I should have done. But I feel like I made the best decision I could.
And why do you feel as though there was more that you should have done? Have you not had far beyond a normal human lifespan? On your world, most humans are blessed if they live to their 45th year. How then do you come to feel unfinished, my son?
Okay, so that's the thing. All due respect, sir. I was just beginning to make choices for myself. I was beginning to choose this path rather than have it chosen for me. I feel I could have done more in your service, and I don't know. I just feel incomplete.
Speak to me of the choices you do not feel you were able to make.
Well, all due respect again, your gloriousness. I didn't choose to be turned into a monster and to spend over 100 years with people hiding their children from me when they found out I was a vampire. To constantly be forced to feed, to slake my hunger. and what happened with Father Garen. I don't feel like those were my choices, but when I did finally start to choose, I feel like I chose still to serve you, but I was able to make choices on my own to gain power to do so.
Your offering is acceptable, my son. You did serve me, and you did serve me many times in faith. And you did sacrifice more than once. But I must ask you, my son, why do you feel that this was not a choice? Could you not have embraced the dawn and ended your existence, or taken a stake and given up the eternal night that was offered to you?
I could have, certainly. But that's not a choice I would have had to make had I not been put in that position, you understand?
And what of those whose lives are tragically cut short? What of those babes who die in infancy? Are there deaths? Are there deaths unfair or unjust?
Having almost been one of them myself, I have a connection to these. I don't feel like it's unjust or unfair. Death comes to us all in different ways, different times. It comes for us all, as you know. I'm not speaking of death, though. I'm speaking of the decision to live undead.
My son, do you know how many are chosen to become hunters of the dead?
I would imagine a fair few, but I don't know.
You would be incorrect. Only seven of all my children are chosen from amongst the mortal few to receive the gift of undeath, to become that which we loathe, to fight fire with fire, so to speak. Only 7, my son. Would that not then make it an honorable offering to you to be so chosen, to live beyond your normal allotment of years? Would you rather have died as a babe, feeding your mother's divine power, but never having truly known life in this world?
if the two were interconnected, life, but only at the cost of being undead, certainly I would have chosen to be undead. And with this context, I still don't completely understand why you would need. You're powerful. You are Naylock. Why fight fire with fire? Fight fire with water.
Because it is not in my nature, son, to do so. You see, I am but one power among the planes, and mighty though I may be, I must act within the boundaries of my nature, as we must all, as must your mother. To be the angel of sacrifice is to embody sacrifice in all things, as I embody death, and what hides in the shadows, both good and bad. My son, I perceive perhaps that your grievance is not with death, but perhaps with fate. And if your grievance is with fate, perhaps you best take up the issue with Sibella's god, Morpheus. 'Twas not I that chose your fate, my son. 'Twas I that offered you a way to escape from it. And yes, you carried a burden through your 100 years living on the world, but you experienced so much more, and you were the fire against the fire. Is that not preferable, my son, to not having lived at all? Would that not be a gift worth receiving?
Well, I suppose when you put it like that, it's hard to refute.
Perhaps you need to understand just a little better just how important sacrifice is to this world. And he lifts his hand just ever so gently, and the shadows that trail and dance all about his throne of black crystal, the shadows begin to take on kind of a life of their own, and they begin to form shapes. And you look into them and you see the image of a knight standing on a field of battle and holding off an advance while a number of innocent people come running or fleeing away. And you, even though the entire scene is woven of shadow, it's done with such exquisite detail that you can even see expressions by the posture of these people. And you get the idea that this knight, you watch him fall below an ogre or some kind of a giant's blade. And you remember the story of the Knight of Saint Bethania and how he became Saint Bethania and in Bestera's charge. And you realize that sacrifice has given birth to even demigods. And you look and you see other scenarios kind of play out. You see your mother harvesting a child. You know, you see your mother sacrificing a child. And then she turns around, and with the shadow that is added to her from the sacrifice that she makes, you turn and you see your mother cast down demons and horrible, monstrous entities. She hurls a spear of shadow into the heart of a great titan, dropping it. And you realize that that spear that she hurled was constructed of the sacrifice that she made of her own children. And you kind of get a glimpse in several different ways of what sacrifice means and just what is preserved because of it. And you look and you see an image in the shadows, and you identify Lachlan, and you see him trapped in that little circle of fire that he's trapped in. And even though it's made of shadow, you're able to perceive all kinds of details about it. And you look and you realize that Lachlan is holding on, that he is sacrificing even now under the whip of Baal, whether he's being struck by Baal or not. And you get the idea that he's sacrificing even now so that there's the possibility of saving Horta. And a lot of it comes through impression, and a lot of it comes through the exquisite detail of the shadow plays that before you. And Naylock just moves his hand, and it all just dissipates into wisps again. And he says, "You see, my son, sacrifice is not so much about what is lost. It is far more about what is saved. You did sacrifice something in giving up the normal way a human lives within the world, but you gained so much more. Did not your vampiric powers make a difference as you combated the enemies of the gods?"
They were essential, really.
Did you not resist the necrotic energies of death that were hurled against you by your foes, while your companions were damaged by them?
That's true as well, yes.
Then perhaps, my son, your sacrifice was worth it. But tell me, why are you so concerned with those you've left behind? Why do you feel that there is more to do? If I accept your sacrifice, is it not enough? Or is there something more to those you've left behind? Do you have love for them, my son?
Most of them. No.
I understand Sister Faudever is a bit much to take. He doesn't.
Naylock, you chose me to do this. You chose me to be a part of this council, this fellowship. And through all my years on this on that earth, you know, I did not have any friends. I was fire against fire. These people are my friends. They never would have asked me to sacrifice myself for them, but I was happy to do it. I want what's best for them, and I want what's best for that world. That's what I fight for. That's why I feel unfinished.
Do you not understand, my son, that I cannot, by my own nature, cheat death? I cannot restore you to life.
I understand. And I accept my fate as that was my choice, but that's the answer to your question.
However, the rule that cannot be broken can certainly be bent, can it not?
Do tell.
I cannot restore you to life, my son, but I can restore you to death.
Are you insinuating that if you were to bless me with the gift of undeath again, I could go and help my friends?
Am I not the god of night, my son? Are not all the powers of the night at my disposal? Could I not let you walk with the children of the night again?
I feel a great many things are possible with you, brother of shadows. But I'd be a vampire again, wouldn't I?
Yes, you would. But you would have choice, which you seem to esteem so highly, my son. Would you walk the night again in my service? Would you again bear the burden of your thirst?
If you can answer me one thing, why Anduriel? Why Michael? There are many servants in your name. There's a lot of trouble going on here. Why send me back?
You left behind the gift that was offered you because you never recognized the value of the gift that was given to you. You did not feel that you had chosen it. And so, why you, my son? Perhaps I wish to offer the gift and let it be your choice. Perhaps you would not hold back were you to choose it for yourself. Perhaps I wish to see what may come of that.
If I choose not to go back, what awaits me here? Seems pretty comfortable.
The shadows conceal from others, but not from us, my son. If you stay, you will continue on in my service, and you will see, and you will learn, and you will become. But it must be your choice, my son. I have not eternity to lay out every consequence of every path before you.
Sorry.
There's a whole line of people here waiting to talk to me. No, I'm just kidding.
Sorry, Santa.
Sorry,
I just don't know what I want.
He's the Santa of death. Sorry, Poinketh. Break the mood.
How about a nice football?
Odelia, you're watching all of this happen. With another rhyming couplet, you could throw out a few words if you wanted to.
I say, Anduriel is our true friend. Oh, Moira, save him from this end.
Okay, the waters seem to swirl violently, and you realized that if you wanted to, that you could speak through to Anduriel. You could try talking to Naylock, but that might be a little presumptuous. I mean, you do you. You do you, but...
No, I say, do I have to talk in rhyming couplets to him too?
No, the water has been opened.
Maybe a nice haiku.
I mean, if you want to keep, Moiris would certainly like it, but I mean, you've made your offering already. The way is opened.
Anduriel, it's me. Don't become a vampire. We can help you now.
Okay. Anduriel, a very strange halfling haiku seems to echo throughout this vast castle of shadows. And Naylock says, Moiris is an odd goddess.
And Odelia this is an entire leap of faith. She has no idea if they can actually help him.
Well.
Can he speak to her?
You can try. You heard her voice. I mean, it's awfully weird. All Naylock says is Moiris is an odd goddess.
Odelia, what What do you mean? You can help me. I'm dead.
Well, maybe you're only mostly dead. I feel like Moiras has given me this opportunity to talk to you for a reason, and surely there's something we can do. Don't give up your soul and your control over yourself.
If I was to become a vampire again, would you and my other friends leave?
Well, I can't speak for any of them, but I see the sacrifice that you've already made, and that you're just being asked to sacrifice more and more. And I would certainly fight your case and tell them what has transpired here, and knock their heads together if I need to. But I just feel like there must be another way.
You'd likely have to start with a dragon. He's not going to like this at all.
It really is.
Well, he owes me. He threw me at a dragon last time we were together.
I remember that. Good times.
Better than this.
Okay. Naylock makes a batting motion with his hand, and Odelia, the bowl of water upturns and spills out all over. And
I'm like searching around to see if there's even a puddle big enough.
she's like
Go back, go back.
gathering up all the okay. Odelia, the vision in the water seems to be gone, and Naylock says, "Enough, my son. Eternity beckons, one way or another. Shall I return you to death, or will you go on?"
Okay. Here's the thing, Naylock. I appreciate your giving me a choice. Though the choice is eternal something, or going back as a vampire. It is a choice. I appreciate it. Now here's my secret, Naylock. One you may have already guessed. I quite like being a vampire. Send me back. I feel like I can help my friends.
It was no secret to me, my son. And he says, "Very well. So let it be. I will send you back. But, my son, you will need a means of travel. And therefore," he says, "let it be that you take my coach." And he points towards the darkness to the left of his shadow, of his crystal throne.
Oh, thanks, Dad.
And this coach comes galloping out of the darkness and clacking these across the stones of this throne room, and pulls up in front and disturbs the line of the dead with its march and its, you know, its pathway as it makes its way in front of you. The horses, they whinny and they neigh, and you see a headless coachman at the front of the coach. I'd like you to make a knowledge religion check, and let's see if you can identify the coach.
That is 19.
Okay. This is the Coiste Bodhar, which is Irish Gaelic for the silent coach, also called the Coach a Bower. This is Naylock's coach that has been known to ferry the souls of the dead back and forth across the eternities. It is a coach that has the very power of death itself. And he says, You will return to Avernus in my coach, my son, with my power. And he says, are you prepared?
Your power. What do you mean?
Well, we can't have you traveling in this magnificent carriage, dressed in drab apparel. And he raises his hand, and a staff of solid darkness materializes in his hand, and he slams that staff into the ground next to his throne, and it thuds and echoes throughout the entire chamber. And Anduriel, you are quite suddenly, you watch that staff thud and crackle like thunder, and then it melts out of his hand and it crawls over your body. And for a minute, you're afraid that it's going to devour you, but it swirls around you, shaping itself to your body, and forms a magnificent suit of armor over you.
Sweet.
It is breathtaking to behold, and it gives off wisps of shadow as you move. And if you open the character sheet I sent you now, you will now see that you have Shadowgate armor that has a host of lovely properties.
Well, I'm gonna have to dig into this.
So Anduriel, it covers you, and then your body solidifies, and you feel a pain in your chest, and then a gnawing, burning hunger.
Oh yeah.
Aching in your throat as your vampiric thirst returns and your body solidifies again.
That's familiar.
And you are in desperate need of a tan all over again.
I can't resist the joke.
Do it.
We are Venom.
That's awesome. Okay, and
Eddie Brock.
For just a minute, Anduriel, as you make that transformation, you sparkle.
Dang it. Thanks a lot, Naylock.
It happens. You feel your vampiric curse, or blessing in this case, settle over you and commingle with your divine blood again. And you feel quite protected in this magnificent armor. And he says, very well, my son. And he points to the headless Cochin and he says, the Dullahan will guide you to the destination that you choose. Your druid friend lies within the bowels of Bell's Forge. I suggest that you start there. Once you have rescued all of your friends, my son, the coach will bear you thence for 1 hour's time before it returns to my kingdom. Be wise, my son, about the hour and where you choose to go.
I will. Thank you for this opportunity. Thank you for showing me what sacrifice is, what it means, and thank you for showing me what you've shown me today. I had no idea.
He stands up over the throne, looming over you by 6 feet, and begins to step off of the throne down the dais. And as each step he takes, shadow melts off of him, and he shrinks down to a smaller form until he stands before you, still wreathed in shadows that your vision just cannot seem to penetrate, but your size. And he says, then go, my son. Be again the weapon of my vengeance. and he reaches out and enfolds you in his embrace. And it is the sweetest moment as Naylock enfolds you in his dark embrace. And you feel at once pride, you feel loved, you feel safe, you feel believed in, you feel faith. And then his shadow envelops you, and you're lost in the darkness for a moment. And then you come to yourself, and the shadows dissipate, and you're inside the coach. And the voice of the Dullahan echoes and says, "Destination." And it echoes kind of hollowly inside of his cavernous chest.
Bell's Forge, please. And if you can you turn on into Sandman?
Okay. And he does. And it comes peeling through the speakers really loud. And there's a crack of the whip. And the Coach of Hour, the silent coach, the power of death itself in coach form, begins to dive through the shadows and cross the plains. And that is where we will end for this night.
Whew.
And all of the people in the line of the dead are like, "Oh, sweet ride, man." Like, and that's it.
I have
Okay.
to say, of the songs you could have chosen, you didn't go for like the Death God's anthem, "For Whom the Bell Tolls."
I was gonna do that. I thought of Back in Black too, but this just
Yeah.
Love it.
What was going through my head was "Get your motor running," like
Yeah.
yeah. So unfortunately, Odelia, you were not able to talk Anduriel into.
Sorry, Odelia.
But
I tried.
But you tried. Yeah, I'm
And-
sure.
The fact that you cared enough to try.
I'll sacrifice for you, so you're I'll fight your corner.
Sweet.
I'm part robot.
I helped.
Why, yes. Yes, you are. Okay.
Art robot.
All right. We like to end with a little inspirational thought. It's half an hour past Jeffrey's bedtime, too, so we'll move quickly here. JT has our consider this for the evening.
Yes. Okay. So there's obviously a lot going on, and I don't want to. I don't want to tell people how to think. I don't want to tell people how to view the world. So I'm not going to. What I will do today is share with you something that has helped me feel good through all this. And basically, I took a vacation this past weekend to Bryce Canyon. If you've never been there, it is gorgeous. It is beautiful. I went there with my family. We hiked outside. We got into nature, and everything seemed a little bit better. And a lot of stuff that seemed to matter didn't seem to matter so much. And so I was kind of inspired, and I found a quote as we were kind of hiking along in one of the pamphlets for the park. And it said, "Sometimes you need to step outside, get some fresh air, and remind yourself who you are and who you want to be." And so that's what I'm going to leave with you today is take some time, go outside, get some fresh air, and just remember who you are. Remember that you're important, and then remember who you want to be. And things look a lot different when you do that. So that's it.
Word.
Yeah.
Outside always makes things better.
Yeah. My girlfriend and I are actually gonna try and hit. If anybody's watching from Ohio on here, Hocking Hills National Park in Ohio, which is
Ooh.
just, it's right in like the Appalachian Mountains. So it's the most mountainous area on this side of the United States, and by that I mean it's hilly compared to the Rockies. But it's beautiful, and yeah, there's something about going out, just letting nature take its course and just view the world through unclouded lenses.
We're in the creation. that's part of the creator that created us. And I think there's a lot of peace there. So
Yeah.
get outside, get some fresh air. Remember who you are.
Return with honor, all that good stuff. I like it.
You just
Beautiful.
couldn't resist, could you?
Couldn't help it.
I can. I mean, it was there. It was low hanging fruit, as JT often says. It's
I
just
put it
low.
on. I put the T-ball on the tee, and you nailed it. Good job.
Yeah, all that good stuff. Beautiful. Anything anybody else have to add, or are we calling it? Okay. Good night, everyone. Thank you for joining us. Have a wonderful and pleasant and hopefully nature-ish week. Bye-bye.
Yay.
Bye.